Gora Magat, Cancorler. Ministers, I'm sorry to report back to you that the experience that I have seen in Donegal and across the country of how this government have handled the challenge of refugees and asylum seekers has been nothing short of shambolic. I want to give one example in terms of a national school in my constituency, which I still find utterly shocking how it was handled. So we have Session O'Neill National School, and it's a school that's seen an increase in pupils in October 2022 of 52. So it was about 152, increased to 204. That's an increase of 1/3, a very substantial increase of a school. The children were the children of refugees and asylum seekers. They came in October, as I said, 2022. The school was welcoming, wonderful support to those children, and they flourished, I'm glad to say, in that environment. But because the children were not enrolled before the deadline of September 30th, they got no financial support. They repeatedly, in the school, were in contact with the Department of Education, repeatedly asking, can we not get, per head of capita, the support we get for every other child? We're only days over your deadline. These are exceptional circumstances. And they were ignored again and again and again, to got to the point they were down €30,000. Now, I raised it in this House, I raised it on the topical issues, I raised it one-to-one with the Minister, and there was never a solution found. So here was a school that provided a warm welcome, an environment of support for those children and their families, and they were down €30,000 due to the willful neglect of the department and the refusal of the Minister on exceptional grounds to allow them to be supported. That's no way to treat people. When I look across Donegal, there are now over 7,000 Ukrainian refugees, almost 2,000 asylum seekers that have been accommodated in our county. And in many instances, in most instances, that has been done with the support of the community. But that goodwill was thrown back in people's face, because if you look at the tourism impact, I think it's half of hotel beds in the county now taken up. If you look at what was happening with opportunistic investors who were securing buildings, some their own, some from others, in a county that has economically struggled, and were providing those buildings to the department. You see, I don't blame Minister Pádraig O'Gorman, because Minister Pádraig O'Gorman was abandoned by the rest of the Cabinet. He was left on his own with this problem. So you didn't have a coordinated approach with housing, with health, with education, social services and so on. None of that happened. It was all left to Pádraig O'Gorman and his officials, and they were left in crisis mode, finding buildings. But that was a complete disservice. Our county, and I say this, Donegal has taken more per head of capita than any other county in the state in terms of refugees and asylum seekers. And I will not stand for one moment for anybody questioning the calibre or decency of our people when they ask genuine questions, like the people in that school. There are people in communities asking legitimate questions about, I cannot get an appointment with my GP. I just can't get one. How are we going to sustain this extra responsibility? You know, our school, we can't get people into the national school for places. There's a queue. Was there any research done about this? None. What was happening was that TDs and councillors were finding out, in some instances, after asylum seekers were placed in temporary emergency centres, after, or in other instances, days before. This left us at the front line of the outrage in our communities, absolute outrage, because of how people were treated. Their goodwill was taken for granted again and again and again. So the government have to accept that their handling of this has been shambolic, that they've abandoned Minister Pádraig O'Gorman to try and handle this all on his own. And now there is clear anger all across the country, where people who haven't a racist bone in their body, who will tell you that they would have responded to the original crisis in terms of Ukraine, that are now asking questions again and again. And, you know, there are a very, very small minority of our people that are racist, and they are taking advantage of this, but the government's handling of this in communities is playing into their hands. So please listen to people like me, who've stood up for the underprivileged, the disadvantaged all of my political life. I haven't a racist bone in my body. I'm an internationalist person. I'm telling you, this has been handled appallingly, and good people have been burnt badly by all of this experience. You need to build those relationships, you need to listen to them, and you need to make changes now.
Thank you, Deputy.